I'm in the playroom.
It's so appropriate if you're going through a game board that you're there. So welcome back, everyone, as we start filing in. Are there any groups that'd like to share a little bit with that brief introduction and exploration that you got to have with the Atomic Game Board? Any ways that you might see using that, or any of the complexities of the board that might be interesting to use in your classes? If you want to pop a hand up, or if you,
When in our group, we didn't get to, we found out in our group that we can have, there's a link for this, that we can actually print it off or print out and puzzle piece it together and actually, use this exact game board in our classroom. So we thought that was really nice. And that we could have the students, depending on what level, maybe try to read some of the characters or sentences or, whatever level they are.
Excellent. You found one of the new resources that Anne Marie just added.
Yes, I was showing them the one that I actually printed out and created, and saying if you're teaching Japanese language, you could probably do this without letting on that the English translations are available eventually.
Wonderful. Orly, you had your hand raised. Do you want to share a little bit about what your group found?
Sure. This is more of amusing, but one of the things that I brought up with my group is just the idea that board games can transmit values of a culture. And so, like, if you look at Monopoly from the US and you know what that says, but also in the Tale of Genji, for example, which I have not yet read in full, but there are a lot of different games that appear in the Tale of Genji. There's one with, I think, painted shells, and there are a couple of other ones. And so I just think it's interesting how board games, they reflect the aesthetic of the time, but also the values that, that a culture is either trying to inculcate or trying to change or trying to address in some way. So I just thought also from that perspective as like a cultural artifact, it's just interesting to see not just the theme of the game, but the way that it's set up and how it requires the players to interact with each other. And in the artwork, the things that, when it was designed, the things that are considered to be more important versus less important is kind of like a zoomed out view. So I was thinking also in my head, like, because I teach AP World History. So when my students analyze documents, half the time they're not actually considering the content, they're considering like the document itself and the sourcing and the things that surround the document. So I was also thinking about the possibilities of doing that with something like this.
So many possibilities. You mentioned the shell game in the Tale of Genji. The Detroit Institute of Arts actually has the incense game and the shell game. So cool. You could do print off versions of those in their educational resources based on pieces from their collection. So
awesome.
That was a very fun piece. No problem. And if you have a Glowforge, I can send you the files to be able to make your own 3D piece. But anyway,
awesome.
Other groups and ideas that you'd like to share. Thank you.
Angie,
for those.
I just wanted to mention real quick, since you guys are talking about different games, our group also discussed a Karuta game that is online on the Lafayette College exhibit website, and I just put the link to it in the link in the chat. I mean, for people who might want to see those and experiment with those and teach Japanese with those.
Excellent, thank you. All right, the other group, would you like to share? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on because that'll give us a little bit more time to go a little bit more content specific in taking a look at how we can use this game and others in our classroom. So now that you've explored the Atomic Game Board and gone through all of those, from that board in particular, there's a lot of different challenges. There's the challenge of science and scientific discovery, peace, politics, and the arts. The title for this workshop, Looking at Manga, I think Anne Marie did a great job of kind of showing how those characters and even the faces of the characters, the drawing, the detail, and the design have really kind of played into a lot of different art forms that we see popular with our students today. So as you look at that game board and this format, what could be the goal of a lesson in you using Sugoroku? Well, obviously, if you want to take directly from this game board, you can pick the characters themselves, or you could take the Nobel Prize winners who are all listed on the board too. If you wanted to create some of those characters, the students could make their own. We have a couple of different resources here, taking a look at Tezuka's characters and Astro Boy. The University of Colorado has done a fantastic resource set here that's linked in the bottom right-hand corner, taking a look at Astro Boy and 20th century art. And this set of case studies really helps us to kind of discover how can we create these characters and what kind of story can they tell in designing our own games. If you wanted to explore the Nobel Prize winners, again, you could take a look at the ones who have won the prize in physics, or you could go to peace laureates. We can hit a lot of these different themes looking at these people and what they've done. So again, it kind of gives students the ability, and you as a teacher, the ability to take this game board in any direction that most interests you. If learning about peace politics is what you want to take away with this game, I know there's a number of elementary teachers in our group today. They may use Sadako as one of their books that they teach from, the Thousand Paper Cranes story. If you're a teacher in Northwest Ohio, I'll let you know that the original artwork for that book is available for loan through Bluffton University. It's a small college here, about 40 minutes away from me. They have a peace studies division, and they actually have a fantastic library with the artwork adorning the walls, but they will loan those out to your class, and you just would click on this lovely link here to get in contact with them. Some of you might be familiar with Sachiko. There's a great little book talk here on Sachiko. Again, kind of taking that idea of peace politics to a middle school level. Our middle school social studies teacher uses this book, and it has a lot of fantastic graphics and resources and historical research for you to be able to use. Again, being able to take that story of World War II, the bombings and post World War II into your classroom and making it something that's more accessible for your students with understanding, providing that background context. You can also take a look at two films right here on the bottom left-hand corner. I was introduced to one, Unearthing Ogawa, this past December through Engage Asia. And it's an organization that also works with teachers to share more about East Asian cultures. And this story takes a look at a son who's trying to return a diary that his father had found during World War II. And the story of reconciliation and bringing that back to the family whose deceased relative had actually written the journal of what was happening during the war. Another one that connects directly with the Atomic Sugoroku board is Day of the Western Sunrise. And this documentary film takes a Kamishibai version of documentary storytelling to talk about the fact that after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, atomic testing still continued. And it looks at the 1954 event where several 23 Japanese fishermen were exposed to the testing of the Castle Bravo tests in the Pacific, the fallout from that. And then it also, this story presents it in a way that it's understandable for middle school and high school students. I actually use this film each year with my high school Foundations of Art class, and we create pieces based upon the film. That film also has an accompanying curriculum set for you to be able to use it in your classroom. If you're looking for other resources on East Asia, I have two other links here. East Asian Gateway for Linking Educators has a lot of lesson materials and resources. This is produced through the University of Pittsburgh with the funding of the Freeman Foundation. And it asks you to log in and register. It's an easy registration, but allows you to go through thousands of different resources that could help you as you begin to build your own boards. And of course, NCTA Asia, as we take a look, that click over there is going to give you access to a lot of other resources, both online digital resources, presentations, and things that you can use to find out more as you work to use Sugoroku in your own classroom. For my art classroom, we've decided to partner with one of my friends' preschool rooms. and using Sugoroku. And as part of my painting class, I always try in each of my classes to incorporate some East Asian art and culture. So for this one, we decided that we wanted to build a zoo for those lovely little preschoolers. And my painting class is a group of 10th through 12th graders who've already taken foundations of art, have some introduction into painting and painting techniques, and they're looking to refine their skills. In that classroom, about a third of my students are on IEPs, about a third of them are honor students, and then a third fall kind of right in the middle. So we have a variety of students that we're trying to incorporate in a collaborative art piece. So when I looked at the Atomic Sugoroku, I wanted to do something that wasn't quite as heavy because they come to my painting class in the middle of the day, right before lunch. I needed to have something that would keep their attention and make it fun. And so we decided to go on the Great Escape and to venture over to Japan and explore one of their zoos. So in defining the project for my students, I identified the place, Tama Zoo in Tokyo. There were a lot of zoos to choose from, but this one had the best map for us to kind of use as a layout for our game board. I wanted to identify the characters, and rather than doing people, which I would do if it were a drawing class, we wanted to do animals. So much more fun to paint. And then I needed to identify a challenge. And I was thinking from the preschool standpoint, let's just get them to visit as many animals as possible. So as they go through the game board, they can go and say, oh, I went to the monkey. I went to the monkey again. I really like the monkey. I'm going back to the monkey. But it all depends upon their role, how many times they're going to be visiting the monkey. And I know one thing that my friend in the preschool classroom focuses on, doing the tally marks and counting things up. So I wanted to design not only a board for them to play on, but also a lovely little tally sheet so they have something to work with. They're still not into exchanging items, so having cards like you would have in a Candyland type version of a game wasn't something that we were going to create. One of our standards also in doing this that we wanted to meet was a technology standard. So in addition to creating the actual game board, we also created a digital version of our Sugoroku style animal adventure. And it all began with that look into Tama Zoological Park. So this slideshow I have linked so that you can go in and access, take a look at the resources and the way that I set it up, presenting it to my classroom. We use Google Slides and Google Classroom for a lot of our resources. So it made it easy for me to be able to incorporate the Sugoroku, Anne-Marie's talk, and other examples of Sugoroku boards into my presentation to my class. But I wanted my kids to spend some time exploring at least 3 areas of the zoo, select their favorite animal to paint. And again, I had them kind of doing some interaction with each other, and we had some students who were quarantined during this as well. So it gave them the chance at home to be able to keep pace with our timeline on this project. And bottom left, we see that timeline. I was anticipating about 7 class days, which everybody knows in the Stokes world means really about 10 class days we're going to be using for this, because day 1 ended up becoming 2 days. I had a lot of resources on there because I wasn't sure exactly what the students would want to use. And I found that they spent a lot of time looking at these animals and looking at pictures and looking at things that I thought, oh, they're going to breeze through this in, 1 45-minute classroom and class time. And they didn't. As part of this lesson as well, I wanted to kind of keep in line with the Atomic Sugoroku board and do some introduction of vocabulary. So I introduced some easy vocabulary and also provided them with a resource that really is elementary focused. So for those language teachers, this one might be something that you already use, but it was a link to Japanese zoo vocabulary. So the kids kind of clicked on that and explored some of the animals, and then went back into the map of the zoo to see if they could find those animals there. They could also visit another one of Japan's zoos, but the website that really caught their attention was the third one, the safety drills in Japanese zoos. And you've really got to take a look at this because I had no idea this happened, and I found it on several different websites, including several reputable news websites. But in Japan, the staff at zoos will regularly do these safety drills where one of the staff members dresses up in a big costume of like maybe a lion, and they escape from where the lion is in the zoo. And you'll see this costume staff member kind of running through, and then you'll see other staff members chasing with little like darts that are the tranquilizer guns to like block off areas and tranquilize the animal. And the kids were absolutely rolling because they are really funny safety drills, but it also kind of, it made things a little bit more relaxing when you think of our safety drills. And then, every month we're doing some sort of a safety drill and we have to stay focused, but it gave a little bit of a lighthearted look at safety. Finally, we had a Planet Zoo challenge, again, to save a zoo in Japan. And so that kind of brought together some of the things that we here in the United States are facing, they're facing in Japan and globally. And again, made the world a smaller place by taking a look at some of these resources. Additionally, I put in some readings and some other project ideas that we didn't end up, I go into some of these. I have a couple of these books, but not all of them. I like to include readings because you always have that student who finishes first. Oh, I did it in 2 days. So that gives them the opportunity, again, to kind of explore and take a look at some other drawings and paintings, some other stories of animals in Japan. Usually when I pull these readings or pull these other picture resources, again, I hit a lot of the NCTA resources, including the Freeman Book Awards. And that's where I found a couple of these, and the Eagle website. And both of those are linked right here. These are elementary books. A lot of times, even though I teach middle school and high school, I use a lot of children's books, especially because of the illustrations as an art teacher. I think that makes it a little bit more accessible for some of my kids to not be as intimidated in drawing or painting. The game board itself, the atomic game board, that was one thing that they really identified with though too, because they're used to reading manga. They're used to taking a look at those comic book-like characters. So again, using this as an introductory project for my painting class was a great way for the kids to get some immediate success in one of their first pieces. So here I'm going to take you in to the Great Escape that they created, exploring the zoo. So I have the introductory slideshow that presented it to the kids, what their challenge was and how we would accomplish it. And then this is the slideshow that they helped to create with their illustrations. On the bottom right-hand corner, that's the score sheet that would be printed out for players if they were doing it digitally. And then this is kind of the first slide as an introduction to the teacher of how they could play this game if they were to play it online. So really the students could each have their own die, or you could bring up a virtual dice for them to play. You could do it on a smart board where you're traveling together, or you could have them do it individually with their score sheets, scoring what animals they would visit. And along the bottom are all the ones that the students made, the paintings that they did that coordinate with animals in a zoo. This is one of my students on an IEP who wasn't quite sure about painting. And then when she saw this otter, she thought, I can do this. And she really enjoyed painting her otter with this cute little expressive face, just kind of, here I am. So on the game board, what the kids had to do is take their painting, and they had to use our photocopier to scan it. That scan they sent to me, I inserted it into the game board, and then they had to do the name of the animal, the Japanese name for it, and then some sort of move. As you explored the atomic Sugoroku, you probably saw there's different things like take a rest rather than lose a turn. The kids thought that was a very polite way of saying it rather than, sorry, loser, you're stuck out for a little bit. Some of them had move ahead, so move to the insectarium, which here would be moving to the butterfly. They thought that was a cool kind of area in the zoo, one that our local zoo actually doesn't have. Some of the others enjoyed researching photographs of their monkeys, and they have snow monkeys. And this student found this picture, and I'll say that here's a little bit of a background information on the snow monkey stealing the cell phone and looking at the cell phone if you wanted to see where she got this photo. But she said, can I really do this? And then she wanted this spot to capture the attention of the preschoolers. So she wanted to go with some bright, exaggerated colors as well. So they found it a real playful kind of way to do some investigation and do some introductory painting techniques. In this case, if you landed on her monkey, you would have to move back to the 4th spot and move back to the otter. Again, the timeline in the art world is a little interesting. Some students took a couple days painting, so they had a little bit more time researching. This student who painted the ibis, she spent 2 weeks working on it. Luckily, it was during that week of snow that we had at the beginning of February. So she had taken this home. She actually is exhibiting this ibis as a framed piece at a local gallery. It's absolutely gorgeous in person. But she felt by the end of this project that you just needed to go to the exit. So that's what she thought the appropriate move would be on her section of the game board. So now we're going to give you the chance to be able to look at some game boards and to look at some ideas for using game boards in a variety of content areas. We had a spectacular group of teachers working on a variety of resources for you. I'm going to ask before we get into these, if you guys have any questions about the layout and the resources that I just shared. I'm going to let you go ahead and you can unmute yourself and ask those questions, because or Anne-Marie, if you want to see anything in the chat, I can.
No questions in the chat yet about
Okay.
your teaching resources.
Okay. So we're going to look at these 5 resources. Again, I kind of went into the one on the bottom right-hand corner. It's set up as 2 slideshows, one for the teacher to present and then one for the kids to play. Our first series of resources that we have in the top left-hand corner looks at World War II and the atomic bombings, and it also consists of a double slide deck. One that connects with national standards for Japanese language, and then one that you would use with your students in the classroom. With all of these, you'll see a lovely little tag, the NCTA logo and the Ohio East Asian Resource Center's logo. Those will take you to resources. If you click on those, that could give you additional background information to help supplement these take and go modules. The format that we have been using with Ohio State, introduced by Janet Smith, who mans Control Central and all these lovely activities, is a Slides Go or Slides Carnival format. It allows us to put together a variety of resources for teachers, usually with slide decks between 20 and 25 slides, and gives you the chance to look at videos, readings, supplementary websites that help you to investigate these topics as they relate to East Asia. So each of the 6 is set up in that kind of a format, each with a different theme. If we take a look at the top, and I'm going to just kind of intro all 6 of them briefly. The top middle one is set up by Jennifer Laplace, who's one of our teachers in here today, taking a look at nuclear physics and the danger of nuclear weapons. It also goes a little bit more into the manifesto that Anne-Marie had mentioned as well. So it's a social studies focused investigation of using Sugoroku and the atomic game board. The top right-hand version looks at women in art. So it takes not only an East Asian perspective, but also a global perspective, and offers a lot of different ways for teaching art and art history through women in the arts, and gives a lot of great topics for you to investigate, in addition to providing you with a slide deck and a PDF that you can print out with 40 different women artists. The bottom right hand, Science in Sugoroku, takes a look at different science themes, those that relate to the Nobel Prize and other ones. It especially focuses on middle school science, but also extends into high school science lessons. It includes a student example of one on the atmosphere that was created. So it takes both a teacher and a student look in one slide deck. The middle one, if you teach social studies and you have a student teacher, share this one with them. It's the gold mine of resources. So it looks at Sugoroku and government and teaching the types of government with a focus on Japan and then expanding globally. And it also includes a whole folder of resources that would help in teaching government and putting together this game board. So your group, as you take a look, has the chance to look at these different slide decks. We have compiled all of today's resources into one website, and I believe that's what Janet's going to be sharing in the chat, so that you can go there and again, based on your content area and area of interests, take a look at these. And we're going to give you about 15 minutes, I believe, to break out and look at these slide decks to see how you might be able to use, once again, what we've been looking at with the Atomic Sugoroku, and then look at this specific content area Sugoroku board and teacher resources and how they might be useful in your classroom. So any questions before we head out? Nope, looks good. Cool.
Sorry, I already hit the breakout
No,
session.
that's fine. And I was like trying to make up time and then I went too fast. I'm like, dang it.
That's okay. No, that's fine.
So, but
We
go ahead.
resume core. Okay, they should be coming back in within 60 seconds. 42 seconds, actually.
This
So
time I'll
I've
say
sh-
Colorado, not Columbia. I was like, sorry.
All right, so I will reshare as soon as they come back in the website that has everything on it.
Excellent. Welcome back.
You were in the art room? Which room were you in? Maya?
Science.
Science. Welcome back, everyone.
All right.
I know everybody could spend hours on it, but unfortunately, we don't have all of that. All right, once we've got I think we've got everybody back in.
All right, great. Do any of the groups want to share a little bit about what they found, what they can see, or what other ideas they have for using Sugoroku in their classrooms?
Start. So I'm taking your zoo lesson and turning it into a final project for my class, my AP World class, not using animals, but it is so well put together, and I like the art piece and pulling that in because I have so many creative kids and they all do art and they're artists. And so I will touch base with the art teacher as well at my school, but I'm going to definitely use your plan and change it for my class. But I'm thinking it's a great like end of year project.
Cool. Have fun with that and keep to your timeline. End of the year, you definitely have a timeline.
After the AP exam, we have quite some time, so we can play with it.
Literally. Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Other people who saw some ideas, some things? Josh?
Josh, yeah.
So I'm sort of reiterating a thought that had come out of talking with Maya in our group. But she had talked about how she really appreciated the beginning of this talk today, how you were exploring the origins of Snakes and Ladders and the idea that it's not just this given of a game that exists, it's that there's a lot of contributing factors that don't ever get explored, talked about, asked about. And then she specifically, like Tesla, she was talking about how who's the more important figure, Edison or Tesla, and so on, and how there aren't necessarily answers to such questions because she's teaching science. But the idea of creating a game board that is, the students would create questions investigating certain questionable topics, and the game board would be a collection of questions. And so they would reach a question and then it would push them to maybe be Googling away that question, which doesn't necessarily have a firm answer, but it pushes them into the rabbit holes that were prior mentioned rather than pulling them out of the rabbit holes.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for those ideas, science team.
The language team come up with things.
Josh, the other Josh.
Yeah, well, anyway, I was particularly impressed, and apparently she's on the Zoom call, but with Erica Davis Hernandez's presentations that are linked on the website, and how well she adapted them to a different content area, but still using the principles of the Sugoroku. I was really impressed with that. And it, I might steal your Latin American artist one. That was, so just so you know.
Erica,
Yeah,
you're a
and-
rock star.
Thank you.
Another point that was brought up in our group that I really appreciated, and we've kind of mentioned this before in our kind of talks leading up to this, is just the opportunity for collaborating with different teachers. You know, I think Josh was saying how he's already got some ideas for going to, and Tracy too, right? That you were thinking about approaching some of the teachers in some of these other areas and teaming up with them to teach the talk, teach it, the Sugoroku.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So I'm going to take this chance to hit some of those areas that you can team up with. Let's see the subjects that we covered here listed on the left with our take and go presentations. But there's a lot of skills that we use in every day in our classrooms, but really every day in life. When we look at the Sugoroku board, it gives us a chance to collaborate. And a lot of ideas were shared on collaboration within the design of the game board or even playing the board. The choice-based research. As an art teacher, when kids get choices, sometimes they freak out because they are not given the opportunity to choose. So again, this game board format gives us that ability to have students go in a direction that they are most interested in. The character design, I gave you some resources for that. If you want to go along with the manga style characters, you know, clip pictures using technology, looking at the game board, do you want to create a physical one or the digital one? Josh called me out. Our physical one isn't quite finished yet. The digital one got finished first. So we have to finish that physical one to send over to the preschool classroom, but they have the digital smartboard version. And all of these really tie into that problem solution, not only in the research done with no more Hiroshimas. What's the problem? What's the solution? Where have we gone? Looking at the historical context of these things, but the if then, the cause and effect, consequences. You know, that's what we learn in playing these games. So it's a fun route to have our students explore. What were some of the other skills that you saw students using in either playing these games or in working on projects to design these games? What are some of those other skills? Go ahead and I'm going to stop share because again, I can't see everybody then. How about the fine arts, the arts group? What are some skills that you saw being used with these game boards? Erica?
Well, I think just the collaboration aspect, because a lot of times with visual and fine arts, it's a very solo kind of a thing. And so this gives opportunity for students to collaborate. Like, I love your idea of even collaborating older kids with younger kids, but then just collaborating with your classmates to work as a whole or small groups. And I think that's really important.
Yes, yes. How about our language teachers? What were some areas or some skills that you see students using with the Sugoroku boards?
I think oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to repeat what I had said earlier. So please go ahead.
Oh, well, same with me. In our group, I was saying I loved Erica's incorporation of not just Japanese artists, but artists from other countries. And I teach ESL, and we were talking in our group about, you know, having the kids maybe research an artist from their country and do something in their style from their country. So I'm sorry, Tracy.
Very cool. That's good. Josh Z, I think you had something as well that you've.
Just I think that the incorporating the different I guess not necessarily moral lessons, but you know, you could almost make it, you know, some kind of you know, content mastery thing where if, you know, they answer a question right, they get to proceed. And if not, then they have to sink back down the ladder and try again for a different answer, just to do like that kind of learning. Again, just thinking.
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you. Josh Foster?
The interest-based, no fear research skills involved. For example, like the drills they were doing, how the kids they'll be attracted to something in there. Their interest is going to be grabbed. And then they're doing research without understanding that they're doing research with the scary big R.
Yes, we trick them. I mean, we bring them down that path, that lovely path. Tracy, what else did you want to share?
Well, I was just going to say what I had said earlier. There's just, a lot of language on there that we can practice, reading, and even the upper levels translating, or, more language stuff like that.
A lot of hidden skills.
Yes.
Right. All right. So I'm going to share a couple more resources here because that's what NCTA does. We flood you with resources to use. But if you're looking for a game board format, because somebody had mentioned creating games may take centuries. These are two with Slides Mania and FlippityNet that I've used so that the game board's already created and I've inserted my information into those. With Flippity, you can create a spreadsheet and you can adapt it to a lot of different games. Slides Mania allows you to put bigger graphics on it. So that's an advantage to both of those setups. When it comes to Sugoroku resources, again, as Emery said, they have a fabulous collection at the Billy Ireland. So all of these are links to get into those. The University of Colorado has another fabulous resource here, A Window into Modern Japan, where they look at using these games, and it has a very beautiful, detailed lesson plan and a bunch of resources to go along how to teach the ideal Japanese subject in the early 20th century. So for language arts teachers, history teachers, art teachers, this is a fantastic unit to use in your classroom. The two collections that we've been using for a lot of our research that provide additional game boards are from the National Library of Australia. There's, like Anne-Marie had mentioned, that backgammon concept. It's called a backgammon board game collection. It'll give you the visuals for that, but Princeton University's Children's Library actually has some with translations on it. You will see in there, there's a Tale of Genji one with the incense sticks. So you could take a look at these different types of game boards. And again, some of my kids went down this rabbit hole and some went down that one. Some started to take a look at the military game boards and what do these have to say? And Stokes, do you know what this translates into? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't read Japanese. But even without being able to read them, the visual clues that the kids pick up on with the placement, like I had mentioned earlier on with the map of the world game board that Anne-Marie had shared, the expressions that are on the faces, the colors that are used, there's just a lot of great classroom discussion and investigation that can be done using these resources. Other resources that we have, again, today's resources, the folder with all of those links to the various game boards that we had a chance to explore and the ones you didn't have a chance to explore yet, along with recordings from today and the slideshows. That's right here in the top link. If you love this format as much as we do for teaching, using these take and go modules that you can just take them and run with it. We have 4 other themes that we've identified through the Ohio State University's East Asian Resource Center, and we have slide decks on those. Crossroads and Conflicts is one of them, cultural identity, the environment, and worldviews. So any of these could help to give you some content. If you're looking at building one on the Communist Revolution, there we go. You can take that format of the take and go. Your kids can use these resources to do some research, and they might be able to build their own game board, identify their characters, and create their challenge with these resources. Again, several of which were created by teachers in our session today. If you thought that 2 hours with us isn't enough, we have a 30-hour summer seminar coming up. So our 2022 seminar, Mapping the Past and Present, Spirit and Beasts of East Asia is something that you might want to investigate and spend some time with us this July as we look at other resources through the Ohio State University's East Asian Resource Center and NCTA. All of these wonderful programs are funded through the Freeman Foundation's extremely generous grants, helping to bring East Asia into our classrooms and bringing our kids around the world with us. I know Lynn has a number of fabulous book groups and webinars and other resources that she presents out of the University of Colorado, and you can go from coast to coast and around the world with all of these that we have to share with you. So I wanted to stop this share and see if you have any other questions or comments, things that you would like to share. We do have a survey that we'd love for you to be able to take a few seconds to fill out here. We also want to be respectful of your time, but if you want to talk more Sugoroku or more about East Asia, we are more than willing to stay around. Again, I'd like to thank Anne Marie for her fabulous presentation and Janet for coordinating everything for today. For all of you for getting up this morning and joining us with a cup of coffee or two. But Anne Marie, you have a few closing words for us?
Oh, well, I also wanted to thank the teachers who helped us create these amazing educational modules: Megan Chapman, Erica Davis Hernandez, Kayla Colleen, Megan Coons, Jennifer Laplace, and Angie Stokes. You guys really just made such wonderful resources, and we're just so thrilled to keep seeing you. And these are all teachers that came to our summer seminars, and we're just thrilled to continue interacting with everybody and seeing you again at future events if you'd like to join us. So thank you so much for your time today.
And I put a link to the survey in the chat, and also links to the other websites that were created that have everything that Angie was talking about. And again, if you'd like to leave, feel free. It's noon. Your time is over. But if you'd like to stick around and had some more questions or would like to continue the discussion, we'd love to talk with you.
There's so many things. Whew, it's a whirlwind of resources out there.
I'll be picking your brain, Angie.
Perfect. I would be sad if people didn't email, but Teresa, I felt so bad after your summer seminar. You had all of your projects and I had all mine, and I thought in August we'd be able to catch up, but maybe this summer.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, please pick my brain.
Erica, thank you so much, and Jennifer for coming this morning and joining the groups. Hopefully you were able to get some feedback. Erica, I think you mentioned you were able to. Jennifer, were you able to get any feedback from your group?
Yeah, lots of feedback, but I'm stealing a lot. I'm Teresa.
Creatively, yes.
Creatively taking or reusing many of these projects because I like to be a creative teacher, and great ideas out there. Just really, really great ideas.
And this format, Janet, just organizes it so well for teachers to be able to use and for students to be able to use. It just, oh, it's so nice.
We just need to get the word out there that these resources are here. So that's kind of our next step to make sure we can make sure they're getting used.
Promoting it. Yeah.
Promoting it, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I've asked my principal to share at our next building PD. So my entire building will know about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, because the summer seminar was so fantastic, but even just the workshops throughout the year are so helpful. And my building has such international population that I know that if the teachers know it's available, there'll be some that jump on the opportunity.
And
such wonderful resources were created that we'd just like them to get out there and get used. And I like that idea of incorporating into a building PD. That's a really good idea. And if there's any way that we can help facilitate any of those, or if that would be of interest, just let me know.